Hey everyone, as we begin wrapping up Module 2, just a few reminders that you are going to be finishing up your Assignment 3 and Field Experience for Leading Courageous Conversations about Race on September 29th. And then you will be working through your discussion post for Video 1. And I wanted to remind you for the reflections that you are posting in your discussions to really make it reflective. Really think about the questions that are being asked there and think about your current teacher leadership roles, and then also how you can apply what you have been learning in Module 2 in your teacher leadership role as you move forward. So there's really that huge reflective piece that as teacher leaders, you are going to be applying throughout all of your assignments. As we come into October, we will be meeting October 5th. We're actually going to be meeting in room 100 since Dr. Bidwell has moved all of you into one room for research. And so we'll meet in room 100 at 12:15 or as soon as she finishes up. We'll meet. If you have questions, I will be in there to answer any questions you have. It will be kind of informal, and it's just me making myself available to you in order to answer any questions you have moving forward. Similar to the online session that we have in Teams, this will be in person in case you want to talk to me face to face. Then as we move into Assignment 3 for our assignments, or Module 3 for our assignments, you'll see that we have Assignment 4 and Field Experience is for GACE Task 5. I encourage you to begin no later than October 2nd for this. This step will take 2 to 3 weeks to complete from start to finish. And so let's kind of look at Module 3 as we move into this particular assignment. So in Module 3, you'll find the Start Here instructions, and I give you some things to think about. I tell you what to read for each of those. I really want you to take a couple of days to look at GACE Task 5 and the rubric requirements, because you are now beginning GACE Task 5. I also want you to read the Task 5 deep dive and reread Chapter 7 in Every Teacher a Leader if you've not already done so in your leadership course, because you will need that information on how to conduct a needs assessment. You are going to be conducting a needs assessment. Keep in mind as you move throughout teacher leadership, you are going to be creating and conducting a lot of needs assessments, and this is because each task requires you to link the data back to the needs of your school and your colleagues and what they need to know specific to each task that you're working through. So we are specifically working through Task 5. You all started this with Dr. Crosby this summer, and you started really thinking about what does Task 5 mean? How could I potentially do this? Some of you have started this process. Some of you have probably forgotten. And then some of you have just some questions about it. So the first part I wanted you to really think about is this Task 5 deep dive that we've uploaded into Module 3. Before I talk about that, I want to tell you to look at this overview. So I created this in order to help you to kind of see what we are doing this semester and how it all fits together. So Module 1's really having you to reflect on the attributes of teacher leadership. So you've already done that. You completed the self-assessment, and you completed goals that you want to work on, and you reflected on teacher leadership skills that you've seen in others. Sometimes in leadership, we need to be able to look at others who exhibit characteristics that we want to exhibit, and we mimic them, and that's okay, because we're still trying to figure out what is our role as a leader. Who am I? What what do I want to portray to others? And so that was really kind of module 1, helping you to reflect on yourself as a teacher leader. Reflection is a huge component. As you move through the GACE task, you'll see in step 3 of all 6 tasks that you're going to have to reflect deeply about each of the tasks, and it's going to have some very specific questions within each of those tasks that ask you to reflect on skills of teacher leadership, what went well, what didn't go as planned, what can you do moving forward, and really you're thinking about your facilitation and how you incorporated those adult learning strategies. And so we're getting you some practice with that reflection activity from Module 1. Then in Module 2, you went into the Courageous Conversations About Race activity, and this is where you're learning how to facilitate professional development. So you research some activities that you could do with Courageous Conversations About Race, and then you implemented one activity, and then we have you reflecting on that activity and the impact that it had on your colleagues. Not only is this beneficial for you to be able to see your facilitation techniques and to reflect on that, but it's also important for you to be able to then consider yourself and your school and the needs within your school. Then, as we move through this into Module 3, you're going to begin talking to your administrators. Again, I've heard from several of you where you say you keep going to your administrators to talk to them, ask them for ideas. And I've also heard from some of you that says, my mentor's great, but I needed something else, and I went to another person. Do I need to change my mentor? And I've told y'all that those that I've talked to, that at different times and at different stages throughout the teacher leadership process, you're going to find yourself having different mentors because there's different needs that each one of them can meet. And so when you go to one person, they may have a particular skill set in that area, and then another administrator has a skill set in another area that would be beneficial. So you want to think about which of your administrators at this time are going to really be able to help you to focus on the school goals aligned with the family and school engagement. And then you're going to go into the next process of Module 3, and all of these are aligned with Task 5, of talking with your administrator. After talking with them, you're going to work with 2 or 3 teachers to create a needs assessment or a survey to eventually send out to all of your teachers in the school, or a team that can represent the majority of teachers in the school, to gather data about the major goal that you and your administrator believe that the teachers need help with family and school engagement. And you're going to get their feedback. And this is going to help you and those 2 to 3 teachers to really develop a needs assessment and collect data on the needs assessment. And you'll then facilitate those colleagues through a data analysis. And so you want to make sure that you have at least 3 people that help you to go through this process with you. They do not all have to be on the same grade team. They don't have to be in the same grade level, because you really want good representation across the school for this. Then for Module 4, you're going to be analyzing the data with that small team of about 3 teachers, and you're going to facilitate the development of an action plan for family school engagement. Keep in mind, keep it simple. Doesn't have to be elaborate, but what do your colleagues need most to engage families and the school in and the work together? Consider what adult learning strategies you'll use as you work through this process with your colleagues to develop an action plan, and then you're going to implement that action plan with all of your colleagues at your school. Work with your administrators to determine when this will happen. Reflect on how you considered the needs of those working at your school, how the diversity in your school and community influence the implementation of the plan, the adult learning strategies that you implement, and your role as a teacher leader throughout this process. So I wanted to provide you with this funnel, and you'll see this later as you move throughout the program potentially if I teach this course again, or I'll provide it for the next course, just to kind of help you to see how we start larger and then we move through the process as the funnel goes down, and we really define what those needs are of everyone in your school. Then as you go into the remainder of the activities that are here, you need to watch the video Developing a Needs Assessment. I made this a couple of years ago to really help you think about how do you develop a needs assessment, particularly keeping in mind that you're going to be developing a needs assessment for pretty much all 6 tasks. And so you're going to say, oh, I feel like I'm doing a needs assessment all the time. Yes, you have to do one for each of your tasks so that you really can focus on the task at hand. You want to then read Improving Outreach and Collaboration with Families and Community. This is going to give you some ideas that can help you to have those discussions with your administrator and that small group of 3 or 4 teachers that you work with. Then I want you to read through the GACE Test 5 and rubric. This is specific from the ETS website so that you know the exact expectations when you go back after completing the activity and start working on the commentary. The GACE Test 5 deep dive, when you download this, you'll notice that it kind of shows fuzzy like, but if you download this, you will be able to see everything that you need within it. It's a PowerPoint. It gives you some specific information throughout each of the PowerPoint slides, some questions to think about as you go through Task 5. And then what we've done here is I took this straight from the deep dives on the ETS website and just formatted it a little different using what they had in the notes section. I put it over here in the left-hand side of the screen, but it really helps you to kind of focus on what are each of those components that they want to highlight for you, and what have the scorers of GACE been trained to look for. So you need to look at that GACE Test 5 deep dive to truly see what is going to be expected of you for that. Then you'll see, I encourage you to read Chapter 7, as I've already mentioned, and then you'll see the assignment for instructions for the needs assessment. When you click on this, you'll notice that I took GACE Test 5 Step 1 Needs Assessment. I actually broke down this GACE Test 5 into these 4 steps, and then I tell you how to submit it in Georgia View and what to upload specifically. You'll notice that I put in here that in a second document, upload the needs assessment. And I tell you this because when you are uploading artifacts for GACE, each one of these documents will be considered an artifact. So the needs assessment will be an artifact potentially, or a portion of it will be, but once you get into writing that commentary, you'll start saying, well, what's an artifact? And it depends on how you have presented the information, but if you have it here listed as separate documents, it will allow you then to use this later when you start putting your GACE portfolio together. But you're going to submit 2 documents in Georgia View for GACE Step 1. And when you look at the ETS website and you look at the information in the commentary prompts, you'll notice that it has Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. So that's what I want you to focus on to begin with. Then when you see the field experience, you'll see that I've provided the blank field experience log for the needs assessment, and then I've given you the place that you will upload that document based on your particular area. I also want to encourage you to go ahead before you start Module 3 to also look at Module 4. It's important for teacher leaders to be forward thinking and think about what am I doing in the next part of this, because I have broken this down in task 5 into 3 different pieces. So in module 3, you are looking at step 1. So in module 4, you're going to start looking at the next step, step 2. And so go ahead and look at the assignment 5 instructions for module 4. And this is where you're going to get into step 2, where you're going to develop and implement the plan. And this is where you are going to be looking at the action plan and beginning that action plan steps. I'm not going to go into it in this particular video. I'll add another video, but I want you to go ahead and start reading this information because I've broken step 2 down into 2 parts, but you'll notice that they're both due at the same time, so that you can really dive into each step, but you're still going to have to complete it all at the same time. So as a teacher leader, read through all of the process and then go back and start at the beginning. So that's what I've challenged you to do, is to, you're in module 3 now, but go and read module 4. Take notes about what you have, what questions you have, where you're moving, and then start at step 1 in module 3. But you should look at all of those steps moving forward.